All right, so now it's late February, and right now is a prime time to go ahead and attack this mangled mess of a dogwood tree. This mangled mess of an overgrown dogwood shrub. Specifically stuff like this. See that? Where it's starting to tangle amongst itself. That's got to get rectified. So we're going to do a very hard prune on this shrub today. So to go ahead and reduce the size, I'll go ahead and use this Craftsman's hedge trimmer. It's an extended pull hedge trimmer. Probably doesn't need to be that long. A set of loppers, then a pole pruner, and to make the specific cuts, a pair of pruners. So this dogwood is a Cornus cerevisiae, or red twig dogwood, and they can get up to 13 feet tall and wide. So you're really supposed to have about 5 feet from the center of the plant to the center of the next large plant, which in this case right here is Climbing Rose, the Generous Gardener. All right, so we've got about a 5 to 7 foot gap between each. As you can see, the cornice, when it touches the ground, it roots. So that's what's happening right there. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and rectify that. And of course it encroaches on the walkway. So we're gonna have to clean that up a bit too. Now it's a lot closer to this crepe myrtle right here, but that's fine. I'll keep it in check by hard pruning. So in addition to pruning this dogwood today, I'm gonna be pruning a Buddleia Davidii. I'll show you guys shortly. So this large sun bed right here, full sun garden, I had to go in and kind of retool it a bit. I needed a lot more color, so I ended up adding a bunch of roses. Right up front here is Princess Alexandria of Kent. I think I did a video on that. And this right here is the Buddleia Davidii. So it blooms on the current season's wood. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it back 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. Because if left unpruned, they can grow up into a tall spreading shrub, sometimes called a second-story flowering bush. And I definitely don't want that because, as you can see, the neighboring shrubs or plants, I have an arborvitae right here behind it. I've got this clump of goldenrod right here. So I don't want it to encroach on too many of its neighbors, in addition to these roses I planted over here. So right now it's about 48 degrees, kind of chilly. There's a light drizzle right now, and it's starting to get a little dark. I got the chickens out right now, so I'm multitasking. In addition to doing my garden tasks, I got to keep an eye on them because I do see some hawks flying about in the distance. But as you know, it takes them a split second to snatch one of your chickens up. So I'm gonna have to be mindful of that as I do these tasks. So right now I can say this is roughly 6 to 7 feet tall. So one thing to note about dogwood branches, they're very easy to root. Like I showed you guys earlier, once they touch the ground and they maintain that contact for a considerable amount of time, they start to root. So I'll go ahead and try a little experiment and do some propagation from some of these cuttings that I've accumulated here. So the type of pruning that I'm performing on this dogwood is called a thing pruning. So in addition to bringing the height down and the size in, I'm going to go in and thin out plenty of the old canes from the base and thin out a lot of the tangled branches and some of the well, not some, but all of the old wood and the damaged wood. This right here is a tangled crossing branch right here. I'm going to remove it all the way to where it's protruding from the other branch. So in order for me to get into the interior, clearly I'm going to have to get all of these overhanging, overarching branches that are in the pathway. A lot of them are damaged from the lawnmower, from being trampled on. They got to go. Here's a branch that touched the ground and it's rooted. Let's get all these damn weeds out the way. See right here? And I try to rock it. It's pretty stable in there because it's rooted. So what I can do is dig that out and pot that up. I'd say that's an entire season's growth. So you can see how tall it is right here. It's about a good 3 feet tall. So this bush, it can grow 2 to 3 feet per year. So it's a rapidly growing bush. So we got these crossing and rubbing branches right here. Something's got to go. So anything that's closer to the front has to be shortened. So we got a couple of, not a couple, but a bunch. But some of the rubbing branches are these two right here. So I'll go ahead and select the younger. I'll select the younger branch to stay, and the thicker branch, which is this one right here. Okay, follow that down. I'm gonna have to prune that. So it looks like with that, I don't know if my loppers can reach down there. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. I think you snapped it. I think you did it. Yep. Probably should have got my saw out to get that one. There we go. All right, so what I'll do now that it's starting to rain, I'm just gonna continue working without recording. I mean, that's no big deal. The thing is, I don't want my camera to get wet. So I'll show you guys the end result. All right, so I drastically reduced the size of the shrub by about 2 to 3 feet. And I went into the interior and cleaned out a lot of dead, crossing, and oversized branches. It's probably a little too dark right now for you guys to tell, but it's a sprawling shrub. I'd say even with it being pruned, it's probably 7 or 8 feet wide. As you could see, a lot of sprouts on this end. They're coming up. So yeah, it's a very vigorous shrub, and so it takes very vigorous pruning yearly. I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up right now and move on over to the butterfly bush and the sun garden. All right, so just as before, I'm gonna go ahead and start off using this hedge trimmers and reduce the height of the bush. And anytime you see me looking up in the sky, I'm monitoring for hawks. So I got the chickens out right now. So essentially, I want to take this bush down to 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. So like I said, I roughly took this down to about 3 feet, 3.5 feet. I also wanted to make sure I removed any dead and diseased canes, any canes that were crossing, and any thin and spindly canes. Branches that are smaller than a number 2 pencil. So for butterfly bushes, the only thing I do in preparation for spring, in addition to giving them a hard prune, is I may, depending on their situation, if there was a recent transplant, if it went through some winter damage, I might lightly fertilize it with some plant tone, not heavy, or I may just go in with some liquid fertilizer. Something from Alaska brand, that's, what is it? I think it's 10-10-10 or 5-5-5. And that should give it a quick pick-me-up to carry it through the rest of the year. But other than that, I do not baby these butterfly bushes. And you can tell the dead bits because they come right off if you rub against them hard enough. All right, so there's the shrub, nicely pruned. So I have one more that I like to go ahead and knock out real quick. So let me brief you guys on this area real quick before I go ahead and prune that butterfly bush. So this area has been retooled. I don't know if you guys remember, but I used to have a row of butterfly bushes along this fence, underneath that trellis, where that existing butterfly bush is right now. I think I had another one over here to the left of this tree facing it. So the problem with that design was the butterfly bushes going towards this side of the garden weren't getting enough sun, and they were looking too congested and very messy, very untidy. So I decided to retool this area. I moved this, I believe it's a phytocarpus. It's a 9 bark. I think it's a summer wine. It used to be over where the butterfly bush that I just pruned is right now. I moved it over here. I put a grouping of sedum right here. Over here I have some amsonia, about 3 or 4 of them. And over here I decided to put a lot of roses. So I think back there I got hot chocolate, or it might be pearly May, and some Ringo stars. There's a picture right there. Ringo stars. And some popcorn drifts. And this one here is Oh So Easy Italian Ice. I think that's another one. I've got a bunch of asters over here too for that late fall interest. This one's Woods Purple Aster. I think one is October Sky. A couple are October Sky. So it's just a nice mix of colors in this area that I'll enjoy from late spring, early summer, all the way into the fall. this one's a lot taller than the last one. This one's about 7 to 8 feet tall. All right, so this one I didn't go as drastic, but it did get a good prune. It's roughly 4 feet tall, and as you saw earlier, it was about 7 to 8 feet. It was way above the 6-foot fence. So this will add a nice weight in this area during the growing season. It'll be a nice backdrop for all the roses, all the carpet roses that I have down here. That one right there is popcorn drift. This one right here is peach lemonade rose. Gorgeous colors. What do we have over here? What do we have over here? So this has pretty much been my garden buddies for the past few months. These girls brave cold, ice, snow, you name it. They're up for the challenge. So of course they're tearing up my garden beds. But you know, honestly, they really provide a lot of great aeration. And I just have to manage how often they go in the bed. But I think, you know, as much as they can be a nuisance, as they're searching for grubs and worms and bugs and who knows what else, they've proven to be very entertaining in addition to providing eggs. So with that, guys, I'll leave you here. And if you hang with me this far in this video, I appreciate it. If you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. And also, I'd like to thank all my new subscribers. I was able to push past 10,000 subscribers, and I'm close to 15,000 subscribers. Just under 3 years doing YouTube. So I'm very grateful. So with that, this is AJ's Green Thumb. Thanks for hanging with me. I'll see you on the next one.